one of the experiences, though, when we had started out working on Vita while I was at Hart-Howard, it's pretty typical to sit down with a kapuna or a group of people representing that are kapunas representing the populace. And they used to be the spiritual leaders, and now they're the community leaders of Hawaiian folks. And find out what's important to them on this particular land. Many of you might have seen The Descendants, and it's a very accurate representation of what happens in Hawaii relative to land. And that was sort of the Howley picture, and we were involved in the local Hawaiian picture. And in this one case, we ended up with a group of kapunas, about 10 very large Hawaiian folks, in about a room the size of this screen, actually. And I was with my client, Ed Vita, and we were there to understand what was important about this particular piece of land. And Auntie Lay started talking about, her great-grandfather and her grandfather, and how all the stories that they had and things that they did when they were growing up on this piece of land, which was beautiful. And then Auntie Lay started to cry, and her niece, who was sitting next to her, started to talk about some of the stories and her memories of Auntie Lay on the property and their uncles and aunts. The niece started to cry. And then the brother of the niece started talking about his experiences, and he started to cry. And pretty soon we had a room full of Hawaiian folks crying. Ed and I are crying. I don't really know why I'm crying, but it was so powerful and so moving. And what really struck me very, very hard that day was that you are being entrusted. When you work in another culture, you're being entrusted with great responsibility. They're coming to you for a reason. They're coming to you, like Renee was saying, about the expertise you may have from your education or your experiences here in this country, whatever it may be. And that's a very large responsibility to take on. And when you really heartfelt feel that responsibility, I feel as a designer, that's when you can produce some of the best work. And so it was a very rewarding experience, and probably one of the funnest projects I've had the opportunity to work on in my career. When you do have that understanding, then you can begin to translate that culture into community. And to me, that we try very hard in our practice to make sure that happens. And it's not just, you have to make sure the design is relevant to not only the existing generations, but hopefully the future generations as well. And, skipping across the surface of making sure that you're kind of abiding by feng shui principles if you're in China and everything's facing south, or if you're using local materials and artisans, I think you have to go deeper than that. And so we really strive to try to understand at a deeper level, and a deeper meaning, what is important about this place to the people that live there. And one of the projects that we worked on was in Korea, in Oak Valley, for a new community. And in Korea, a lot of Buddhist traditions. And one of the traditions when you worship or go to the Buddhist temple is you go through a ceremonial series of 3 gates, a symbolic purification, if you will, as you go to the inner sanctum to worship. And so we took that idea as inspiration for the entryway into this community. And we established a series of 3 gates as well. The first being the greeter station as you came up to the community. The second, after you go up a hill through a wonderful landscape of native pines and other vegetation, was a bridge that we needed to span. And the third, because it was a very hilly site, we actually had proposed a tunnel going through, a short tunnel going through a hill. And as you got to the end of that tunnel, that's when the community opened out in front of you, and that was the one you were received into the inner sanctum. So maybe a little esoteric, but when the story is told to the people that are living there, they get it, and it means something to them, and so that place has a special meaning, a little deeper meaning than perhaps otherwise may have been.